So there is a tendency in our society to want to classify or group all Black people into one main category and label them all African Americans. However, with ever increasing capabilities in the arena of DNA testing, we can no longer do this. As more and more people are having their DNA tested and forward-thinking geneticists are striving to test all of the indigenous population around the world, specifically those people groups that have remained in their home countries for many generations, meaning they and their ancestors did not migrate to other locations like maybe some of the other family members did. And so the wonderful byproduct of their not having migrated is that geneticists can use them as reference population samples when comparing the DNA with people all over the world. Geneticists can now trace the DNA backwards, and we call that geopopulating backwards, to locate where the various genomes originated from. And because of those reference populations tested, we are now better able to know where our DNA links to in those old countries. DNA evidence shows that Blacks have the largest and most diverse genetic makeup. Not all Black peoples come from the same locations or tribes, nor do all Black people share the same DNA. The majority of Black Americans who are descended from former slaves carry a different genetic code than those of most African peoples, primarily because these individuals are not African in their origin or in their ethnicity. They are Semitic peoples descended from Noah's son Shem and not his brother Ham. And this, I think, confuses so many of the genealogists and just so many people in general, because I think the major conception is that Ham's descendants settled all of Africa. So it's not only are people, just now starting to wake up to the fact that the Hebrew Israelites were a dark people. We learned last week they were described as being swarthy, which is dark, brownish black. They were described as being tawny, which is a tan color, and they were described as being ruddy, which is a reddish brown color. So people are just now starting to wake up to the fact that the Hebrew people are not white, and and more people are realizing that the people running Israel right now and living in the state of Israel are not genetically similar at all and not descended from the biblical Hebrews. But then added on top of that, what's confusing people is people don't expect to find the descendants of Shem in Africa, all right? They think that they're in the Middle East, and to some degree that's true, but as we've been finding out through parts 2 and 3, there are a large contingent of Hebrews in West and Southwest Africa, okay? So let's talk about the Ashanti people, okay? There seems to be some confusion as to who they are, especially because they nowadays or in more recent history, they tend to be a little bit more pagan, I think, in some of their practices. But you might be surprised to find out that they're actually in Scripture. Okay, but before we get there, let's look at this older map of Negro land and Guinea. And this is specifically a screenshot of the Guinea area. And you can see circled in red the Kingdom of Judah, or Widda, which we learned about last week, which is located on the Slave Coast. But then to the left of them is the Kingdom of Aslanti, which is the same thing as the Kingdom of Ashanti. Okay, so they're right next to each other. And then just for a little fun fact, if you look over to the right-hand corner of the screen, in just right above Benin, which is to the right of the Kingdom of Judah, I don't know if you can see what I have circled in red there, but I thought that was very interesting. It says right under Biafara or Biafara, it says the deserts of Seth. So I think that's very, very interesting, which makes me wonder just how long have the Hebrew Israelites been in Africa, West Africa. Okay, so this tribe in West Africa, the Ashanti people, practiced Levitical customs, or they especially did at the time when a Dutch explorer who was sailing along the southwestern coast of Africa came across the Ashanti tribe and noticed their customs were different from the other African tribes that he had encountered. They circumcised their males as well as exhibited other Mosaic traditions. To the right is a drawing done by this Dutch explorer of the Ashanti chieftain he encountered. Can you detect what the chieftain is wearing around his neck? It is called an ephod, and it is a purely Hebrew custom. Only the high priest of the tribe of Levi would wear this. Well, and I should say only the high priest of the line of Aaron of the tribe of Levi would have worn this when ministering before the Most High in the Holy of Holies. And that ephod, which is a breastplate, and it has a gem, one for each of the 12 tribes on it. So that would be a very strange custom or thing for that chieftain to do if he were not